Job 29 through 31, or Iyob 29 through 31. And Iyob again took up his discourse. Oh, that I were as in months past, as in the days when Eloah protected me, when his lamp shone on my head, when I walked in the dark by his light, as I was in the days of my autumn, when the intimacy of Eloah was on my tent, when the Almighty was still with me, when my children were around me, when my steps were bathed with cream and the rock poured out rivers of oil for me, when I went out to the gate by the city to take my seat in the open square. The young men saw me and hid. The aged rose up. They stood. Rulers held back their words and laid a hand on their mouth. The voice of leaders was hushed, and their tongue clung to the roof of their mouth. For when the ear heard, it blessed me. When the eye saw, it gave witness of me. It did that because I rescued the poor who cried out and the fatherless who had no helper. The blessing of the perishing one would come upon me, and I made the widow's heart sing for joy. I put on righteousness, and it robed me. Right ruling was my cloak and my turban. I was eyes to the blind, and I was feet to the lame. I was a father to the poor, and I investigated the case which I did not know. And I broke the jaws of the perverse and snatched prey away from its teeth. Then I thought I would die in my nest and increase my days as the sand, my root reaching out to the waters, and dew lying all night on my branch, my esteem fresh within me, and my bow renewed in my hand. To me they listened, and they waited, and kept silence as my counsel. After my words, they did not speak again, and my speech settled on them. They waited for me like the rain, and they opened their mouth wide as for the latter rain. I smiled at those who did not believe, and the light of my face they did not dim. I chose the way for them and sat as chief, and I dwelt like a sovereign in the army, like one who comforts mourners. Job 30. But now they laugh at me. Those younger than I, whose fathers I would have refused to put with my sheepdogs. Of what use to me is the strength of their hands, since their manhood power has perished? They're dried up from lack and hunger. They flee to a parched land, formerly a waste and ruin. They pluck salt herbs by the bushes and broom tree roots for their food. They were driven out from among men. They shouted at them as a thief to dwell in the gullies of wadis, holes of the ground and clefts. Among the bushes they cry out. Under nettles they huddled together. Sons of fools, even sons without a name, they've been whipped out of the land. And now I have become their song, and I'm a byword to them. They've loathed me. They have kept far from me. and did not even refrain from spitting in my face, because he has loosed my bowstring and afflicted me. They've thrown off restraint in my presence. At my right hand a brood rises. They pushed away my feet, and they rise up against me, their destructive ways. They've broken up my path. They gain by my ruin. No one even restrains them. They come as through a wide breach, rushing on me under the ruins. Destructions are turned upon me. They pursue my life as the wind, and my welfare has passed like a cloud. And now my life pours itself out. Days of affliction seize me. My bones have been pierced in me at night, and my gnawings never lie down. By great exertion is my garment changed. It girds me as the collar of my coat, throwing me into the mud, and I've become like dust and ashes. I cry out to you, and you don't answer me. I stand up, but you only look at me. You've become cruel to me. With the power of your hand, you oppress me. You lift me up to the wind, making me to ride it, and you melt me in the storm. For I've known that you bring me to death and to the house of appointment for all living. Yet does not one in a heap of ruins stretch out his hand, or in a calamity cry out for help? Did I not weep for him who was in trouble? Was my being not grieved for the poor? When I looked for good, then evil came to me. And when I waited for light, darkness came. My inward parts boiled and did not rest. Days of affliction went before me. I went about blackened, but not by the sun. I stood up in the assembly. I cried for help. And I became a brother of jackals and a companion of ostriches. My skin became black upon me, my bones burned with heat. So my lyre becomes mourning, my flute the sound of weeping. Job 31. I have made a covenant with my eyes. How then could I gaze at a maiden? For what is the portion of Eloah from above, and the inheritance of the Almighty from on high? Is it not calamity to the perverse, and strangeness to the workers of wickedness? Does he not see my ways and number all my steps? If I have walked with falsehood, or if my foot has hurried to deceit, let him weigh me on a right scale, and let Eloah know my integrity. If my step does turn from the way, or my heart has gone after my eyes, or if any spot has clung to my hands, let me sow and another eat. Let my harvest be rooted out. If my heart has been enticed by a woman, or if I have lurked at my neighbor's door, let my wife grind for another, and let others bow down over her. For that would be a wicked scheme and a punishable crookedness. For that would be a fire that burns to my destruction and take root among all my increase. If I have refused the plea of my male servant or my female servant when they complained against me, then what should I do when El rises up? And when he punishes, what should I answer him? Did not he who made me in the womb make him? And did not the one fashion us in the womb, if I've withheld the poor from pleasure, or caused the widow's eyes to fail, or eaten my piece of bread by myself, and the fatherless do not eat of it, but from my youth he grew up with me as with a father, and from my mother's womb I guided her. If I've seen anyone perish for lack of garments, or a poor one without covering, if his loins have not blessed me, and he warmed himself with the fleece of my sheep. If I have raised my hand against the fatherless when I saw I had help in the gate, then let my arm fall from my shoulder and let my arm be broken from the bone. For I am in dread of destruction from El, and from his excellence I could not escape. If I had put my trust in gold, or called fine gold my refuge, if I have rejoiced because my wealth was great, and because my hand gained much, if I've looked at the sun when it shines, or the moon moving in brightness, so that my heart has been secretly enticed, and my mouth has kissed my hand, well, that too is punishable crookedness, for I would have denied El above. If I have rejoiced when he who hated me was ruined, or lifted myself up when evil was found in him. Also, I've not allowed my mouth to sin by asking for a curse on his life. If the men of my tent did not say, "Who is there that has not been satisfied with his meat?" The sojourner did not have to spend the night in the street, for I opened my doors to the way. If I have covered my transgressions like Adam, by hiding my crookedness in my bosom, then let me fear the great crowd and dread the scorn of clans. And then I would be silent and go out of the door. Who would give me a hearing? See my signature. Let the Almighty answer me, and let my accuser write a bill. Would I not take it up on my shoulder, bind it on me for a crown? I would declare to him the number of my steps. I would approach him like a prince. If my land cries out against me, or its furrows weep together, if I've eaten fruit without paying, or caused its owners to die, then let thistles grow instead of wheat, and useless weed instead of barley. The words of Iyob are ended.